Well, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's favorite Chris Chan seems like he had a pretty fun week. He was with this person you see on screen known as Cabbage Patch or Flutter, we refer to them by many names in these videos, but it's Chris's supposed girlfriend, who I'm now starting to believe more and more is maybe just an actual friend of his. Nonetheless, this is a picture of them at an anime convention that took place this week in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, this is just one of many pictures and videos there are of Chris and Flutter being at this convention. The thing is, Raleigh's not that far from where Chris is staying in Virginia, but he had been seen in the North Carolina area picking up someone from the airport who many people presume to be Flutter. And I want to get this out of the way now because I've seen a lot of people comment it in my comments section over the past few Chris Chan uploads. There's a theory going around that Flutter is actually from Finland. It's because Chris was apparently really trying to learn Finnish recently. He had a Duolingo account and he was apparently trying to learn the language better, and a lot of people assume that maybe that's where Flutter was flying in from, because for a while there Chris was seen in public with nobody, and then all of a sudden again the only times he's seen in public is with this Flutter person. Like I said, it's a really unfounded theory, because while it does kind of make some sense, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if it did end up being true, there are a lot of reasons why I think it probably isn't. Number one being that Chris is just a random person. I could see him just sitting there awake one night deciding, I'm going to try to learn a new language. And secondly, in the video we did last week, I'll have it linked in the description below, but the dude who was taking pictures of Chris out at that restaurant when he was there with Flutter said that Flutter didn't sound like she had an accent. But that's just some random guy online who's saying all of that, so you gotta take it with a grain of salt. So if anything more comes from that situation, I'll obviously let you guys know that. But getting back to the convention and everything, if you look at all these pictures that people took of Chris and Flutter, you notice again that it's really grainy footage like it always is. I mean, it's always these cryptid Bigfoot pictures with Chris that you think would get better over time, because we're in 2024, most people have a pretty good camera on their phone, but it seems impossible to get a good picture of these two unless they actually want a picture taken. In all of the pictures that you're about to see, Flutter has that same mask on. Now obviously this is a convention, you can see Chris with the Star Wars headpiece on, people all go dressed up, but Flutter isn't even hiding it, and by that I mean she's completely hiding her face but just with like a COVID mask. Now I don't know if Flutter's maybe sick or that they just want to wear it because they feel safer that way, I don't know. But originally, in all the other pictures we've seen of Chris and Flutter out, they were not wearing a mask like that. And it seems again like Flutter's just being extra safe now because so many people have wanted to see and know more about them. In the beginning, we wondered who Flutter was and if they knew anything about Chris's past, and at this point, I'm almost guaranteeing that they have to know what's going on here and the gravity of the situation. Chris has one of the most dedicated followings of people, and he's had it for about 20 years now. Everyone knows that there's so much documented on Chris that you could put it up there with like anyone in the world with how much just facts there is about him already out there on the internet. And Flutter knows that people really like to document anyone who steps foot in his life, and now that Flutter's basically there, arm in arm with him wherever he goes, she probably just wants to show people less and less of herself, and going to this convention they probably assumed a lot of people would notice Chris and take pictures, but who knows, maybe Flutter has any list of reasons they're wearing the mask and trying to look incognito. But a lot of people who were there said that it was obvious they were trying to keep a low profile. And yes, this picture you've been seeing on screen is Chris and Flutter talking to security, which we will get to later in the video. But now let's go back to the beginning of this whole situation. A few days ago, people had put up a picture showing Chris and Flutter buying tickets to this anime convention. And so I and many other people assumed that once this got out there, that massive amounts of wienery would occur. However, it doesn't seem like this took place, apart from the aforementioned tons of pictures the people took of them there, just like this one you see on screen right now. Like again, I always tell people if you see Chris in public, it's probably best to just not do anything, don't touch the poo, but I mean just imagine yourself in this line. You see Chris Chan in front of you, the guy was like, I gotta take a picture, and he did, and it let everyone know what was going on. And even if they didn't, I imagine people would have put up pictures of Chris at that convention anyway, but it was interesting because it was Chris's first convention after getting out of jail. We all know that Chris loved going to these like comic book or anime conventions before he was in jail. He was even planning on going out to Seattle for that Everfree Northwest where he was supposed to meet up with Isabella Jank, and who knows what happened in that situation. But Chris has a long and storied history with conventions. I mean, think of that one time he just dropped into a ball on the floor and wouldn't leave after being kicked out. I think a lot of people, again, including myself, thought this was maybe what would happen here. But to be fair, the more I thought on it and the more I saw these pictures, it made me realize that having Flutter around is probably a big deal for Chris. It's like having his own handler. And I know I said in the beginning of the video, I don't think these two are in a relationship now, and the reason I think that, and obviously, like I said, more could come out and I could be completely wrong, but it seems like the only proof we have of Chris and Flutter being anything even close to intimate is that one grainy picture where Chris is like going in for a kiss for Flutter. Other than that, we haven't seen them really like holding hands out in public or doing anything like that. I mean, there's things that point to it and there's things that don't. It's just an all-around very odd situation, and I can never really just make heads or tails of it. Part of me thinks that maybe because they spend this much time together, well, she has to be interested in Chris, but maybe they're just really good friends. The one thing that we do know that came out of Chris's own mouth is that they met while Chris was in prison. Apparently Flutter wrote to him. Now, I don't know if this was in a romantic way or just someone trying to help him when he got out. Nonetheless, he got the latter, and it's definitely someone trying to help him out, but this question is still up in the air of if they're in a relationship or not. But one thing that's for certain is they spend a whole lot of time together. It's really hard to believe that anyone would put up with Chris enough to go to these conventions with him and everything like that, but I've thrown it out there before that it's possible that Flutter is just working with the Praetor, and they all know that they can make a lot of money if they keep Chris under their thumb, just have him doing live streams for them and everything, so maybe it's a pay thing. But no matter what Flutter's intentions are, it didn't stop them from supposedly having a pretty good time at this convention. Like I said, there are videos out there of Chris asking questions at this one panel. He even introduces himself as Christine. You know, I'm just going to show you guys it because it's just another one of those really, really awkward, like Chris question and answer segments that he does at these conventions. I think he did it with like the guy who voiced Eggman a few years back. I believe he did, but whenever Chris gets a microphone at one of these things, it just reminds you how socially awkward he is. So let's take a look at that. But just before I play that clip, I do want to say sound warning because the woman at the beginning with the microphone in her hand is pretty loud. I'm going to try to make it as quiet as possible, but I just want to warn you, and it's about to come on about right now.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Christine. So my favorite episode of all time would have to be Video Ouija. Split up circles house. But hey, as opposed to what was portrayed in the show, the video games, or the one video game really, and the movies, how do y'all feel about the metaphysical and everything along that lines?
The metaphysical?
Yeah.
What's your spirituality?
All religions. I'm multi-religious, and I got the rainbow aura and everything.
So they're...
It's all good, baby.
All right. Well, you know, Christians are always known for their tolerance.
You know, that last comment that guy made sounds like a thinly veiled reference to him knowing who Chris is, but who knows? I mean, Chris didn't bring up Christianity or nothing. He just said he's part of all religions. It was Chris's way of trying to say that he's Jesus Christ, but in a public setting where he doesn't want these people on stage who he probably looks up to not agree or understand with his whole concept that he's God. If one of these people were to just laugh it off and act like it's not true, I feel like Chris in his mind knows that that would destroy him. So he just kind of dances around it and says that he's part of all religions. But again, it's just he asks these really awkward questions that it feels like just stumps these people. But they all play along with it. They all do well with it, which is the one constant when Chris goes to these conventions. People seem to treat him pretty well and know how to deal with someone like him. But at the end of the day, it's Chris, and he's kind of a loose cannon. You never know what the guy's going to say. But while the people at the convention seemed to be nice to Chris, one group of people that seem to have no type of time for Chris at any of these things are the jerk-ops. Now, here's what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Everything right now is just alleged. There's no proof to any of this, but it seems like it's how everything went down. I know that's not a lot to go off of, because in these communities, what people want is absolute, like rock solid proof. But the best I got for you are a couple pictures here and people's testimonies from being at the convention. So apparently, some point during the second day, Chris and Flutter were asked to leave. Now, that is backed up by this picture here of them two outside the convention. Now, it's not confirmed why they were asked to leave, but many people have speculated that it's just possibly Weens calling up the convention security or whoever they can, letting them know what Chris has done at conventions and did to his mother, or it's just people at the convention themselves who know about the Chris situation that went up to security and said they feel uncomfortable with him being there. But again, there's not too much to back up this claim. However, there's another claim that people made about the following day, the final day of the convention, and that's that Chris and Flutter showed up to attend again, but this time they were denied entry. Now, this one again goes back to that picture we showed of Chris talking to security. Now, I'd assume that this could be any type of picture of Chris, possibly just going up to them and warning them that, hey, he's like a famous person and people might try to mess with them. But I don't know, you guys tell me. This picture of Chris and Flutter up there talking to the security and someone who looks like he's probably like one of the heads of the convention really seems like they're just not having any time for Chris's bullshit. Who knows what he's saying here, but it does seem like he wasn't allowed in the third day. There were no pictures of him taken that day or anything. But I always say it in videos like this, if anything comes out to be untrue, I'll just simply delete this video. We've never had to do that in the past because, funnily enough, most times with these speculations on Chris, they end up coming true. But if anything here ends up not being true and Chris apparently has like an awesome third day and the security just loved him, then I'll come out and say that, oh man, this was all wrong. But it seems like right now Chris was denied entry, and if I were to assume why, it's just simply because people were giving so many complaints and they probably just didn't want to deal with him anymore. It looks like Flutter has their hand on Chris's like pocket or something. I don't know if they're just scared and holding on to Chris because they think they're in trouble. Who knows? You know, I'm speculating a lot here, but that's basically what this video is. It's a bunch of speculation on the previous weekend, and really when more facts come out about this, I'll probably make a more comprehensive video, but I wanted to let you guys know what's going on because I've always made y'all that promise to keep you in the know when shit goes down in Chris's wacky little world of his. And to finally cap off the weekend, Chris put up this tweet. He simply said, "I had a nice weekend. How about you?" He doesn't mention anything about the convention, anything about him getting kicked out of the convention. So again, like I said, everything is up in the air because it's a toss-up if Chris even mentions this at all. Who knows? Maybe next time he has a live stream and he just tries to say, what convention? Who knows? Even though there's pictures of him there, Chris is going to act like everything that's happening in his personal life is just really under wraps. He's been doing a better job than he ever has at doing that, but it's probably because he has people like Flutter and people like Caden in the Prater telling him to do so. But the most interesting thing about this tweet right here is the picture that accompanied it, because it's a picture of two ponies sitting there, one's in the other one's arm, and let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but it seems to me like this pony drawing is meant to depict Chris and Flutter, saying that it's actually really easy to hack your 3DS. I don't, like I said, am I just crazy here? Or does the one with glasses just kind of like mimic Chris and the one like that's with them kind of look like Flutter? I'm not a pony person. Maybe these are like two well-known ponies in the pony stuff, but I'm just saying, are these two custom ponies that Chris asked to be made to look like him and Flutter? Because I feel like, knowing how wacky Chris is, it's a possibility. But you guys let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'd love to know what you thought about the video. Obviously, this was a more speculative piece, but I wanted to get something out there and give you guys the update, as I've already mentioned. It's been a long week, and I haven't done too many videos, but I've been pretty busy, and this week we're getting right back to the grind. We got some Only Use Me Blade stuff coming up this week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll probably have some Daniel Larson stuff, and who knows what we'll have in store for the weeks ahead. But one thing that I feel like I can damn near guarantee is that the next time Chris goes live, it's probably going to be just as much of a shit show as the rest of them. People are going to want to know so much about this situation, and it'll be interesting to see how much Chris is willing to divulge. But that's a video for another time, and I always thank you guys for stopping by, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you stick around because we got an awesome community here. It's the first video of 2024, the first of many, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys can also let me know down in the comments who or what you'd like to see me cover this year. But until then, I'm going to get out of here, and I hope you guys have a safe rest of your day, safe rest of your week, and all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, take care everybody.